He's now the head of cycling at the EIS, so he's currently in Berlin laughing at Team GB, going ha ha ha. But anyway, Simon Jones was a physiologist at BC with Dave, and he said the great thing about Dave, he said he would come in and go, okay, we need to win this, we need to do this. He said, we're currently over here. He said, and then he would stick like a pen in a map or a piece of paper and say, that's where we need to get to. How the fuck do we get there? And that was it. And he would basically go, right, how are we going to do it? And everybody would buy into that. And that actually, I think, is the secret of Team Sky to some extent.
So you got an idea. If you wanted Brailsford to come to your company, you'd charge you like 40 grand to tell you that.
Yeah. Apparently it's important to smile at your employees.
In the map. That's what you got to do.
And say, let's get there. But you've got to convince people that it's possible. And kind of empower them and say, right, we can do this. And what enabled them to do this was a shit ton of money.
Yeah. But what I always like to ask this question, but I usually forget. Why are we here? Why are we interested in this? And it's you assert, I should have said that at the start, they've all stayed, but what you assert that this is the most successful sporting team I think, don't you say, in the history of the world?
We're all in here, I'm all in.
But it is, isn't it? Because they dominate. Which other team? I mean, Brazil didn't dominate football in that way. They dominate track cycling for...
Possibly the DDR.
Well, yeah, possibly, yes. Are you going to draw any parallels between the old East Germans?
No,
can't do that.
No, it's not. It's not the case. That would have been the USSR.
But like you say, why do you say it's the most successful team in history?
Because it is.
There you go.
Because let's go back to the numbers. Let's pretend we're Peter Kane and go, just look at the numbers. The things that people, we went back and said, last time not the last time, but certainly the first time I was in Brighton in 1990 to report on the Wincanton Classic for winning, and it was unthinkable. Now, me back then saying, hey, guess what, in a few years' time, British riders will win every Grand Tour in the same year. What? Yeah. That's not what. And nowadays we just go,
What about having events where people talk about the success of British cycling? Imagine that. What are you talking about? What is this futuristic vision?
Yeah.
But so now, so where is the? We'll do the bits in the middle in a minute. But where is the reputation now? Because
currently on the downslope, I think. Well, there are two different. That's bullshit, really. I didn't mean that. I thought of this actually, because I'm coming to a place like this and I've got to think in a line. British cycling wasn't well. It definitely needed some attention. I think maybe it needed antibiotics, and instead they gave it open heart surgery. That's mine. That's it. That's the whole. That's been the whole day.
The whole project is that.
Yeah.
Like, so the last 20...
No.
What do you mean?
Since 2016.
Right.
British cycling was kind of, wait a minute, we need to make some adjustments here. Okay, well, what did they adjust? What sort of adjustments? Was it antibiotics we needed? Was it a bit of correction? Or was it, cutting this off and cauterising it?
But people, like, even from 2012, which is that's the high watermark of the, the Olympics, Bradley Wiggins winning the Tour.
And
something else.
This is and Paris-Nice, and the Tour of Romandy, and the Dauphiné.
The whole run.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
But that's the high watermark. But then it's also, that's the year that they have to make people sign a statement that they've never been involved with doping, and lots of quite high profile people leave the team. So that's a big turning point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Say more about that. Can you talk about that?
The dark side.
But do you think that was so? Having set out to say we're going to have transparency,
I think Dave Brailsford was a bit unlucky in some respects. On one hand, he was drunk in his own success, not literally drunk, probably, maybe. But anyway, But given, if you look back at the success that British cycling enjoyed, the various Olympics and world champions, the world track champs and stuff like that, when he decided that he was going to have a road team, which is really what he always wanted because he really loves road racing and he loves the Tour de France, to some extent you think, hey, you know what, we're going to win the Tour. and we're going to do it clean, and we're going to do this, da 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 da. Now, and that was in 2010. 2009 they started working on it. 2008 they started working on it. 2009, then 2010 it kind of went, it was official and blah blah blah, and it kicked off. Dave Brailsford couldn't know that the USADA report was lucky in the winds, that a few months later Floyd Landis was going to phone up Johan Bruyneel and say, hey Johan, I need a team. And Johan was going to go, sorry Floyd, we can't. You know how it is. And Floyd would hang up the phone and say, yeah, okay Johan, I get that, you know. And then put down the phone and then phone up Jeff Nowitzki, thinking, well, that's it, I'm done. There's no place for me in cycling. And at that point, all of cycling falls apart. But Dave didn't know that at the time, so he could be quite bold and say, we're going to be clean, transparent, we're going to win this, and blah, 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 blah. And then subsequent to Floyd Landis and all the revelations that we all read about, all of a sudden nobody believes anything anymore. And if you tell me a thing that I'm going to ask you 5 times, are you sure? Are you clean? How clean? Have you got a TUE? Which TUEs? When did you take them? You know, have you ever crossed a line? All of that stuff. There's no way when I started out any journalist ever asked that of a rider. Not once. And the cultural landscape that Dave Brailsford and Team Sky found themselves in had completely changed.
But then the reason they didn't go
and it was made worse because of what David said before. We were going to be clean.
The reason they didn't go into road racing from the start, well, there's more medals in track racing, so you could get more success and measure it.
Yeah.
But also they thought they might get, you know, there was doping there, so you couldn't guarantee success even if you worked hard, and it was going to be controversial, and there was government money. So they were wary of going into road racing anyway. So did they go into it too quickly? I mean, you can't say that because they were so successful, but you're saying they came unstuck having gone into road racing, but they were always
they made such a massive fuss, excuse me, about what they were going to do at the time, and pissed off so many people in cycling. You know, like the old hands, the guys who'd been running teams for 30 years, you know, who knew the ropes, who knew the whole, who'd been through the hell and the high water, you know, and all of a sudden this Dave Brailsford character rocks up and starts shooting his mouth off with his Death Star bus, and he just pissed people off.
So you've spoken to lots of the key players, and you've spoken
not as many as I should have.
Who couldn't you get who you wanted?
Bradley Wiggins.
What would you have asked him?
Who did his tattoos?
No, what would you have asked him? You've got one question for Bradley Wiggins. That's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one question.
Yeah,
the tattoos
it's a good one.
It's gonna be. You can never ask somebody like that. Just, I mean, what
could he have added to the story? If you'd got half an hour as Wiggins, what could he have added to the kind of thrust of what you've done in the book?
But the original, the idea of the book was to try to understand the personalities and the culture that led to, you know, what the success of British cycling and ultimately at Team Sky. When the book was started, none of the drug scandals had really exploded. There was no Jiffy bags, there was no fancy bears, none of that was even on the horizon when I started writing the book, far less the article. So when I wanted to speak to him, I wanted to ask him about the kid from Kilburn thing, you know, the kid that was saved from, you know, just, I don't know, being a waster and an Arsenal supporter or whatever he was. Anyway, going swiftly on. But I wanted to know about his relationship with Dave and Pete. I wanted to know what the difference was between the two of them and who was more instrumental in his career, because the guys that I did speak to all kind of went, oh no, that was Simon Jones who did the work, that was Chris Boardman that really saved him, you know. And Wiggins is famous for sort of careering off the rails after he's done really well. So what he did post 2012 wasn't really that much of a surprise, but it was more about trying to understand the nature of the relationships and what he saw as the most important. You know, I mean, also the same question everybody's got, the transformation.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you couldn't do it, and then suddenly you could. I mean,
you know, again, it's something that, you know, when I mentioned the number of people who sort of said, oh yeah, Dave Brailsford, you know, he's a bastard, but you know, he's a great manager. You know, if you're on his side, then fantastic, that sort of thing. And everybody said the same thing about Wiggins, that he had never failed at anything he'd put his mind to. If Bradley Wiggins decided he wanted to do that or that, he was unstoppable.
Is it Rob Hales in the book who says
he was
once
one
he
of them.
decided to win
Yeah,
the tour,
but Simon Jones was another guy. Tim Kerrison, Shane Sutton. So there was a variety of different people from across, his career. Heiko Salzwedel as well. Heiko said, at one point he just said, and Heiko's been obviously involved in sport from East Germany, Australian Institute of Sport, JCO, Cadell Evans. I mean, he's got a fantastic pedigree in history. Currently the Danish team pursuit squad that just annihilated, the world record last night. He had a hand in the setting up of that squad. Anyway, Heiko said that Wiggins was by far and away the most talented bike rider he had ever worked with in his life. He didn't need to say that. I just think that was what he saw. He also reminded me that he said I remember meeting Bradley when he was a junior, and he said he asked me all these crazy questions because Bradley Wiggins loves cycling like Dave. And he said he could even tell me about the shoes and the socks that the riders rode from. I mean, that's true. Anyway.
But within the team, I wasn't going to talk about this, but within the team, Wiggins seems a lot more popular than Froome, because Wiggins is a real aficionado of cycling history and cycling culture, and the smaller races. And someone in the book just says Froome is just interested in money. Yeah. And he's certainly just kind of ruthlessly ambitious, and he doesn't have that kind of romance about cycling.
Yeah.
So obviously people like Brailsford, who are kind of romantic fans of cycling.
Sean Yates and Shane Sutton both alluded to that fact.
But presumably Brailsford goes more with the Wiggins romantic cycling culture, as well as ruthlessness.
Dave was weird. Dave's attitude towards these riders is much more professional. It's professional sport.
Personal.
I remember when in Catalonia some shit kicker race, and I said to Dave, oh, Bradley's announced his retirement. How's that going to feel? And he kind of went, meh. Just but not in a nasty way, just in a kind of sociopathic way. Just in a way to say, yeah, that guy used to work in the post room. Yeah, we gave him a good send off.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And now the next one comes along, which is, again, it's true in any sport. That guy that used to be brilliant, he's just kicking about the paddock now.
Do you think some people picking up the book, fans, journalists, will expect it to be more talking about, say, a conspiracy, and whereas there's a series of cock-ups in there. You admit, you say Sky made mistakes, or the project, because let's call it the project, because it's like two different things that are kind of merged, isn't it? But
yes.
Mistakes were made. But do you think some people will be disappointed that you don't come out and either say, oh, they're a lovely bunch of honest fellas, or they're a bunch of crooks? You kind of sort of go,
I think
they're quite honest, but they're quite misguided. Will people be disappointed that you're so even-handed with it, do you think?
Probably. I think people.
But you're conscious that people might expect more of a guilty or
I'm
not
expecting
guilty.
a roasting tonight in the questions. The one you open the floor, feel free to line up.
But of course, that did happen last night.
No.
Someone who's mentioned in the book, quite famous, Tony Doyle, he turned up. And he was sat where you are, madam. And he sat there, and then second half he asked a very lengthy, very awkward question.
I knew there was going to be trouble because Tony had turned up with a massive sheet of paper. And he was adjusting them and checking them. I could see him rehearsing them, and I thought,
I didn't notice that. But he had Peter Keen's 140-page PhD in his pocket, and he read it out. No, not all of it. Not all of it. He read a chunk of it out. And in fact, he said, "No, I've only got 25 pages because that's all I could fit in my pocket." Anyway, it was a tremendous and terrible moment, but Kenny handled it very well. And although there's not a lot of Mark Cavendish in the book, I thought he might come down tonight and say, "Why don't you write more about me?"
Nobody wants to know any more about Mark Cavendish. Am I right? I mean, he's a fantastic bike rider. Clearly, a fantastic.
Anyway, you fronted it very well. But anyway, the point is, do you expect that people, if you say I'm doing a history of British cycling the last 20 years, people would go, oh, are they guilty or not guilty?
Is that drugs? Is it drugs?
No, but even within the cycling community, people kind of look for a kind of conspiracy. Do you think they do? Have I got that wrong?
Yeah, no, I think it's normal, as I said earlier on. The era of a kind of mini omerta, a mini sort of like complicity between journalists and riders. that I entered is long gone. And so, and especially after the various investigations, which are less unexpected. And also what happened was Lance Armstrong was such a big story. It's kind of like the nasty boys from the dailies kind of rocked up. You know, we were all quite happy, our little sports specialists, cycling guys. And all of a sudden, proper journalists turned up and started asking ugly questions. We were like, oh, no, you can't ask that. I just did.
Who was...
Sorry, I didn't answer that question, did I?
You said you understand that there's
I do.
conspiracy or guilty verdict or whatever.
Yeah, I understand why now, because the culture has shifted so dramatically in terms of, you know, like the race coverage and expectation and our access to everything, live power data. The first time I covered Paris-Nice in the Dauphiné, it wasn't even on French television. And I was there. So basically you would see the rider at the start, have a word, and then you would drive 150, 170 kilometres, and then you'd see the guy cross the line and go, so, what happened? Well, because it was just, or you could stay in the car and listen to race radio. But at a certain point you had to just clear off and get to the press room. And there was no TV. Paris-Nice, Dauphiné.
Do you still feel the magic of watching? Because I'm conscious that we always end up talking about doping if we're getting to this, but so do you still feel the magic, like last night you went back and looked at the track championships, do you still feel the magic of being at certain events and certain races? Which races do you like going to? Would you know,
anything
as a fan,
anything but the tour.
Really?
Don't go to the tour, people. It sucks.
Where would you recommend people go?
Anywhere else. No, the Dauphiné. The Dauphiné is the best race on the planet. Every race should kind of be. No, it shouldn't be. But the Dauphiné is fantastic. It is the mini Tour de France. It's just long enough. So that means guys who weren't really doped could always win, because it was only 7 days. So there'd be like an up and down hilly stage for the guys that, you know, could chip off and stay away on a break on a hilly day. There was a couple of flat days for the sprinters. There was a time trial during the week that was less than 40k, and then there was a couple of days in the mountains. Boom, perfect. Every day, you know, when Indurain was riding the tour, you could just look after the first stage.